In a world that screams for attention, his silence is deafening. In an industry built on self-promotion, his apparent normalcy has become a phenomenon. He is the anti-hero of stardom, an emotional enigma that the entire world believes they have. Deciphered, yet no one truly knows. But what lies behind the quietness, the kindness, and the sadness that seem to define him? Welcome to The Truth, Dark Psychology. Today, we will explore the psyche of a man who turned pain into a shield, and silence into a form of power. If you dare to look beyond the surface, subscribe, like the video, and join us on this journey into the heart of Hollywood's enigma. While most celebrities walk into an interview room with a calculated performance of charisma, Keanu Reeves does the opposite. He embodies the anti-performance. His pauses are long, his answers are succinct, almost monosyllabic, and his discomfort with the ritual of fame is palpable. He doesn't try to charm. He doesn't try to sell an image of perfection. This refusal to play the game radically sets him apart from his peers, creating an aura of raw authenticity that the public finds irresistible. Instead of constructing a persona, he presents an apparent absence of one. From a dark psychology perspective, this approach is a brilliant form of control. The anti-performance functions as a reverse charisma. By not overtly trying to persuade, he becomes more persuasive. The absence of artifice generates immediate trust in the viewer. People think, he's not trying to fool me, so he must be real. This passive technique deactivates the public's cynicism, allowing his influence to seep in much more deeply and lastingly than any forced display of charisma ever could. It's a masterful form of power, wielded through apparent vulnerability. This quiet and reserved persona is in its essence an impenetrable psychological shield. Fame is invasive. It demands a piece of your soul in exchange for adoration. Keanu protects himself by offering as little of his inner world as possible. He controls the narrative by providing no narrative. Critics and tabloids cannot twist what is not said. They cannot ridicule emotions that are not displayed. His silence creates a vacuum, a safe space where his true psyche remains untouched and protected from the candid brutality of public scrutiny. This lack of information forces the public and the media to fill in the blanks. Keanu Reeves becomes a blank canvas onto which we project our own notions of goodness, sadness, and heroism. He became the internet's boyfriend, not for what he says, but for what we imagine him to be. This mass projection is a passive but extremely effective form of image control. He doesn't need to manage his brand. The public does it for him, building a nearly bulletproof myth around his figure. However, this shield comes at a cost. The same wall that protects him from the pain of public exposure may also isolate him from the joy of genuine connection. By keeping the world at a safe distance, he risks becoming a prisoner of his own fortress. The anti-performance that makes him beloved might be the very same trait that prevents him from being truly seen, creating a cycle of loneliness that is both a strategic choice and a tragic consequence of his defenses. To understand the psyche of Keanu Reeves, it's impossible to ignore the deep and persistent shadow of grief that hangs over his life. The loss of his best friend, River Phoenix, the death of his stillborn daughter, and shortly thereafter, the death of the child's mother, Jennifer Syme, in a tragic accident. This is not a single tragedy. It is a cascade of losses that would fundamentally reconfigure the soul of any human being. These are not just sad stories. They are the foundational events that forge the emotional armor we see today. Psychologically, such complex and repeated grief can lead to a form of emotional numbing as a survival mechanism. When the pain is too overwhelming to process, mind can simply shut down certain emotional receptors. Keanu's quietness and stoicism may not be just personality traits, but a necessary adaptation to endure the unendurable. His melancholic countenance, captured in the famous "Sad Keanu" meme, is not a pose. It's an authentic glimpse of a man who has learned to live with ghosts, a silent witness to the fragility of life. This internal emotional landscape is strikingly reflected in his most iconic roles. Neo in The Matrix, John Wick, Constantine all are men defined by loss, isolated, and burdened with a purpose they did not choose. It's a perfect symbiosis between actor and character. He isn't just acting. He's channeling an emotional truth that is familiar to him. Art for him seems to be less about escapism and more about expression, a way to give purpose and form to a pain that would otherwise be purely chaotic and destructive. The resilience born from such trauma also has its dark side. To survive hell, you often have to take a piece of it with you. The walls built to protect against pain can also inadvertently block out happiness and intimacy. Resilience can turn into detachment and strength into isolation. He has become a symbol of endurance, admired for having withstood so much. But this admiration places him on a pedestal of loneliness, separate from the common experiences that connect humanity. The question that remains is about the price of this survival. Has he managed to integrate and process his grief? Or does he live in a state of perpetual alert, a survival mode that has become his new normal? Does being universally defined by his tragedy condemn him to eternally relive it in the public eye? The resilience the world applauds may be a wound that never fully heals, a source of strength that is also a source of infinite pain. The internet is filled with stories that make up the mythology of Keanu Reeves as the common man. Him riding the subway, buying groceries, talking to homeless people, being scrupulously respectful to women in photos. Each of these acts, completely normal for any anonymous person, becomes a viral event when performed by him. This has created a veritable cult of his normalcy, a public fascination with a star who refuses to act like one. He is extraordinary precisely because of his apparent ordinariness. Analyzing this with a dark psychology lens, this nice guy persona is the most brilliant public relations strategy possible, because it doesn't seem like a strategy at all, unlike other celebrities who promote their good deeds. Keanu seemed to be discovered by the public, which gives them an unassailable layer of authenticity. This image makes him immune to scandals and criticism. Any attack on his character would seem like an act of cruelty against the kindest man in Hollywood, creating a nearly impenetrable shield of virtue. This is a subtle, almost unconscious form of passive manipulation. He doesn't have to tell us he's a good man. The world screams it for him. This narrative creates an extremely strong parasocial bond with the public. People don't just admire him as an actor. They love him as a beacon of decency in a cynical world. This deep emotional connection grants him a type of power and loyalty that no marketing campaign could ever buy. His influence comes not from a show of force, but from a show of humility. The contrast with the active image management of other stars is stark. Keanu's brand is powerful because it seems entirely unmanaged and organic. This raises a fascinating question about power in the modern age. Could anti-influence be the most potent form of influence? In a world saturated with fabricated personas, the refusal to participate in the game becomes the smartest move of all, a silent checkmate on the chessboard of fame. But we must ask ourselves, is it possible to be truly normal under this level of global scrutiny? Or is this the most well-curated persona of all the persona of anti-curation? Perhaps his normalcy is not an absence of performance, but rather the most convincing and sophisticated performance. He gives us exactly what we want: fantasy. That, behind the curtain of fame, there exists someone fundamentally good and simple, a reluctant hero we can all aspire to be. The legends of Keanu Reeves' generosity are an integral part of his myth. Reports of him giving away millions of his Matrix earnings to the special effects and stunt teams, of anonymous donations to children's hospitals, and of a remarkably simple lifestyle, defy the Hollywood archetype of excess and opulence. He seems to have a relationship with money and fame that is, at best, indifferent. This detachment is not just a lifestyle choice. It's a profound psychological statement. From a psychological point of view, this material detachment could be a direct consequence of his tragedies. Having lost the things that money cannot buy, loved ones, peace of mind, the value of material goods may have become insignificant to him. However, this can also be interpreted as a tool of power. In a capitalist system that revolves around desire and acquisition, the individual who does not care about wealth becomes uncontrollable. He cannot be bought, seduced, or blackmailed by that which he does not value. Asterisk. This mindset echoes the principles of Stoic philosophy. By minimizing his external needs and desires, he minimizes his vulnerabilities. His happiness and sense of identity are not tied to possessions, status, or the approval of others. This makes him a figure of immense inner strength and places him in a position of silent power in any negotiation, whether professional or personal. His apparent lack of ego is his greatest weapon, making him an enigmatic and unpredictable force in Hollywood's power structure. The darker interpretation of this behavior, however, is that detachment can be a form of emotional distancing. It's hard to form deep bonds with someone who seems to need nothing and no one. This radical independence, while admirable, could be another layer of his psychological fortress, a way of keeping everyone at a safe distance, disguised as spiritual virtue. By not clinging to anything, he ensures that nothing more can be painfully torn away from him. Therefore, the question is whether this detachment represents a form of genuine enlightenment or the ultimate defense mechanism. Is it an act of generosity towards the world or an act of self-preservation to protect his own wounded heart? By giving so much of himself materially, perhaps he is ensuring that no one can ever demand anything from him emotionally, keeping his inner core, the only possession that truly matters, safe and untouchable. If this analysis is opening your mind, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We want to know, what other enigmatic personality would you like to see dissected here on The Truth? Leave your suggestion in the comments. And now, let's decipher the enigma of his empathy and the distance it might conceal. Keanu Reeves is universally celebrated for his kindness and empathy, especially in his interactions with fans. The images of him avoiding touching women in photos, giving rise to the nickname Respectful King, have gone viral as proof of his character. He listens patiently, responds thoughtfully, and seems genuinely grateful for his fan base. This consistent display of kindness is the cornerstone of his public image, presenting him as a sensitive soul in a predatory industry. However, let's analyze this empathy through a more critical psychological lens. The famous no-touch policy, while praised as the height of respect, is also a powerful boundary-setting mechanism. It's a way of being physically close to someone, posing for a photo, without allowing for actual physical contact and the vulnerability that comes with it. This gesture can be seen as a perfect metaphor for his emotional state. He allows for proximity, but not intimacy. He creates a connection, but at a safe distance. This ingenious behavior allows him to project a safe empathy. He can be perceived and celebrated as kind, connected, and considerate, while fiercely protecting his personal and emotional space. He satisfies the public's need to feel a connection with him, but on his terms, without ever fully letting his guard down. It is the perfect solution for a star who needs to be public, but craves privacy, allowing him to navigate the world of fame without feeling violated. We are then led to question the nature of this kindness. Does it spring from a deep, authentic empathy, born from his own suffering and understanding of others' pain? Or is it a learned behavior, a script for social interaction that has proven effective in keeping things predictable, safe, and free from the emotional chaos that has so marked him in the past? Perhaps his kindness is as much a defense as it is a virtue, a way of calming the world around him so that he can remain at peace within. In the end, Keanu may be a case study in the art of setting boundaries. He teaches us that it's possible to be loved by all without being truly known by anyone. He has mastered the ability to project warmth and connection while maintaining an impregnable emotional perimeter. The enigma of his empathy lies not in whether it's real, but in recognizing that it can be, simultaneously, a genuine expression of his character and the most sophisticated of his protective walls. It is no coincidence that the roles that have defined Keanu Reeves' career so perfectly mirror his public persona. Neo, the reluctant chosen one, ripped from his reality and burdened with the fate of the world. John Wick, a man who lost everything and is forced back into a world of violence because of grief. Constantine, a cynical and tormented exorcist, trapped between heaven and hell. They are all variations of the same archetype: the solitary savior, the burdened hero, the man who walks alone with immense power and pain. Psychologically, this points to a phenomenon of enmeshment between the actor and his roles. The line where Keanu ends and his characters begin becomes blurred, both for the public and possibly for himself. Does he choose these roles because they resonate with his inner landscape, or do casting directors see him as the physical embodiment of this archetype? It's likely a two-way street, where life and art have entered a feedback loop, each reinforcing and defining the other. The burden of carrying such an archetype is immense. To be perpetually seen as the sad hero or the lonely chosen one places him on a pedestal of isolation. People see him not as a man, but as a myth, a symbol of resilience. This prevents him from having normal human interactions where weakness and imperfection are allowed. He is trapped in the role that the public and his films have created for him, a role that, while heroic, is profoundly lonely by nature. However, there's extraordinary power in this archetype. By merging with the image of the mythical hero, he transcends the status of a mere actor. His silence gains the weight of ancient wisdom. His sadness gains the depth of Greek tragedy. He becomes more than a man. He becomes an idea, a symbol of quiet strength in a noisy world. This lends his rare statements and appearances an impact and gravity that few other celebrities can achieve. The final question is whether he can, or even wants to, escape this role. Perhaps, after a lifetime of chaos and loss, there is a strange comfort in inhabiting such a well-defined archetype. The role of the lonely hero offers a structure, a purpose, and a clear set of expectations. It may be that Keanu Reeves has found the perfect way to exist in the world, by becoming the myth everyone already believed him to be, finding peace in accepting his destiny as the eternal lonely chosen one, both on and off the screen. Ultimately, Keanu Reeves represents a radically new paradigm of influence in the age of celebrity. His power emanates not from what he adds to the public discourse, charisma, opinions, drama, but from what he subtracts. His influence is built on absence, silence, and restraint. In a world where everyone is desperate to be seen and heard, he has become one of the most powerful figures on the planet by doing the exact opposite, proving that power does not always scream. The main lesson from his dark psychology profile is that, in a culture of overexposure and constant noise, silence becomes the ultimate power statement. Withholding information, emotion, and access is a far more sophisticated and durable tool of control than extroverted performance. Keanu masters the art of passive influence, causing the world to lean in to hear his whispers, rather than trying to shout over the crowd. His existence challenges us to reconsider our own strategies of influence and self-presentation. He demonstrates that the perception of authenticity, whether it's real or a masterful performance of anti-performance, creates a more resilient and powerful personal brand than any meticulously planned public relations campaign. He teaches us the power of restraint, of humility as a tool of strength, and the magnetic pull of mystery. The enigma of Keanu Reeves remains. Is he a deeply wounded soul whose experiences forced him to develop the most sophisticated defense mechanisms we have ever seen? Or is he an emotional genius, an intuitive master of passive influence, who understood the rules of the modern game better than anyone else? The truth, as it always is on The Truth, is not simple. He is likely a complex and fascinating mix of both. A survivor who turned his scars into his armor and his armor into his crown. He's the ultimate psychological blank canvas of Hollywood. His silence and apparent simplicity force us to confront our own projections, our own needs for heroes, and our own ideas about sadness, kindness, and what it means to be genuine. Keanu's legacy is not just his films. It is the mirror he holds up to society, reflecting our own emotional complexities and leaving us with more questions than answers. The human mind is the most complex battlefield that exists. For more deep investigations like this, subscribe to The Truth, Dark Psychology. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing, and leave your opinion in the comments. Who is Keanu Reeves to you? A suffering saint or a silent master of power? Until next time, keep questioning the truth.